Bonjour, hello everybody. Thank you for being here at this really special panel. My name is Julie Payette. I am a Canadian astronaut and I had the absolute privilege of flying in space twice, both times to an assembly mission of the International Space Station, but really at the very beginning of the station when it was only composed of 2 modules and there was nobody on board. We had to switch the light on. And at the end of the construction when it was almost complete. Though I must say, guys, I'm so regret that the cupola was not there yet. It just arrived after my second flight. It is an extraordinary achievement, both technical, operational, but basically human, that we have been able to maintain a continuous human presence on board the International Space Station for a quarter of a century. And that without major mishap, without open conflict or serious misunderstanding. We got along and we made it work. It is a true beacon in the sky still today. And because of that, before I introduce this highly experienced panel, I'd like to read for you a message I got this morning from the current commander of the International Space Station, cosmonaut Sergei Ryzhikov. He has been commander since August, and there are 7 people on board the space station as we speak, 3 Americans, 3 Russian, and a Japanese astronaut. So here it is. Dear colleagues and friends, I warmly welcome all participants to the Space Congress IAC 2025 from the International Space Station. Oh, by the way, we are recording this, yeah? I want to send it to him. So I start again. Dear colleagues and friends, I warmly welcome all participants to the Space Congress from the International Space Station, which in a quarter of a century has united us, the crew of expeditions and flyers, but also our countries and continents. In these challenging times, when humanity faces new and dangerous challenges, our continuous collaboration serves as a ray of hope. And for many of us, that peace, kindness, reason, and love will prevail. We are all united by the desire to fly and work in space. We celebrate every year space exploration milestones, such as the October 4th, the first launch of an artificial satellite, April 12th, first person in space, July 20th, first persons to walk on the moon. But we now also celebrate milestones of international collaboration. Just this year, on July 17th, the crew on board International Space Station celebrated the 50th anniversary of the Apollo-Soyuz docking in space. First time a Soviet spacecraft and an American spacecraft got together, opening that era of collaboration. And of course, today we are celebrating 25 years of continuous presence in space. That will be it for me talking. I would like now to introduce this extraordinary panel. I will start in order. Soyeon Yi, astronaut from the Korean Space Agency. She flew in space. I'm going to get the right paper because, you know, they're so experienced. There's so many flights, so many EVAs, so many commanders of station and everything else. Soyeon, you flew on Soyuz TMA-12 in 2008, and you had a 10-day mission. You are the first and only Korean astronaut, and she is a hero, not only in our country, but throughout our community. You've been so engaged in bringing forward space business, space exploration, and on top of it, you have come back to Earth on your Soyuz capsule in a ballistic fashion. For those who don't know what that is, it's the steeper entry, and they ended up 475 kilometers from the expected landing site. I think you were greeted by nomads in the steppes of Kazakhstan, right? You can tell us more about this. Soyeon-yi from Korea. Next to Soyeon, Wakata-san, Koichi Wakata from Japan. He's perhaps one of the most experienced astronauts on the planet. He's currently the Chief Technology Officer at Axiom Space, but before that, he flew 5 times in space as a Japanese astronaut. He has 504 days in space on different spacecraft. He flew on a space shuttle, he flew on Soyuz, he flew on spacecraft Dragon, and of course on ISS. Koichi was the commander of the ISS on Expedition 39, and I must say I had the immense pleasure of flying with Koichi on my second flight, and we brought him back home to Earth. Koichi Wakata. We will fill that seat in a minute, but in the meantime, we have with us Andreas Mogensen from Denmark, from the European Space Agency. Can I call you Andy? Of course. Yay. Andy is a veteran of 2 space flight. He did his first space flight in 2015, a short duration space flight to the International Space Station on board a Soyuz spacecraft. And then he became an expedition crew member on Expedition 6970, and you became the commander of ISS for Expedition 70. I'm told you are the longest serving European commander ever on the space station. But like any record, we kind of hope it's going to be broken by somebody somewhere in the future. So Andreas, welcome to the panel. Thank you. Next is Alper Gezeravc from Turkey. Alper is the one and only Turkish astronaut. He became an absolute phenomenon in his country and again in the community of space flyers. He flew on Axiom 3 mission with Michael Lopez Alegría as commander, who is also here at the Congress for 21 days on board the International Space Station. I'm told, and you'll tell me if it's true, that your first words when you got to space station were, "The future is in the skies." So he's a poet as well. So welcome, Alper, to the panel. Last but not least is an astronaut from NASA who I think has done it all. Drew Feustel. Drew flew his first mission on the Hubble Space Telescope repair mission. Then he flew his second flight at the very end of the space shuttle, penultimate flight, I believe, to do an assembly mission, construction mission to the International Space Station, and then went on to do a long duration flight and became commander of Expedition 56 on board this space station. He has under his belt 9 spacewalks. And when he returned to Earth, because he had nothing else to do, then he became acting chief astronaut of the NASA Corps. And currently he's the lead astronaut for VAST. So welcome, Drew. And I stop talking. We'll get to questions. I thought I would open it up, and you guys can decide who wants to answer what. There are microphones everywhere. I would open it up because we are now here to celebrate the legacy of 25 years of human presence in space. My understanding is 290 people have been on station, more than 27 countries. Oh, and by the way, the common number of hours on ISS with this group of people is 1,039 hours on board the International Space Station, just the 6 of us. So it tells you it's quite experienced. So first question, after 25 years of continuous presence on the ISS, what lessons, either technical, cultural, personal, human, do you draw from your experience?
I'll start out by saying, are we on? Check 1, 2. That I think I learned a lot about patience in space and working together. Like one of the big themes for all of us living and working in space is to think about expeditionary behavior and how we treat each other. And I think the key to that is learning about yourself before you go into an environment like that so that you understand how to live with others and be efficient and effective in the things that you do.
And Drew, you've done long-term expedition, and I know you share experience with Andy here because you went into a analog cave training before you came, and even you went with Mike Fink, who's in space right now on board the space station. There's many people in this room who do analog or look at analog experience. How was that? And did it help you?
Well, Andy can speak to that, and Koichi and I can talk about the Nemo environment in the Florida Keys, living in the underwater habitat there. You know, we do those things. I think we do those things mostly to learn about ourselves. And then you learn a little bit about each other. So the training that we did was sort of generic. Astronauts go in groups, not necessarily as crew members to those events, but we also go as crew members as well. So I think the first time you do those things without a crew, you learn about yourself. The second time you go with your crew, you sort of learn what to expect from your crew members in space. And you can learn a lot about people in challenging environments before you go to space with them. It's good to know people's habits and character.
Thank you. Then, considering that we want to bring the space station forward one day, what do you think the lessons of today will be brought to go to the lunar expeditions and then on to Mars?
I can take that if probably it's related to your first question as well. And first of all, I truly enjoyed training with Drew on the underwater mission for 1 week. It's really analogous to a space environment, and it's great that we work together individually and between the space agencies. The lessons that we learned from this 25 years of ISS operation is if you want to go quickly, you can do it alone. But if you want to go further, we should do it together, and that's the spirit. It's amazing that the space station survived for more than 25 years. Of course, we have encountered many technical problems. Sometimes space transportation system did not work, but thanks to this international collaboration, technically speaking, thanks to the dissimilar redundancy, we were able to compensate each other. When one spacecraft doesn't work, another spacecraft will serve the purpose of sending humans or sending cargo. And if we do not have this collaboration, probably it was difficult to continue the program. So one lesson that we learned that in order for us to expand our human frontier in space in a resilient and continuous manner, it's important to work together. And best lessons that we learned from the ISS is with the country's participation, we can go closer and we can be stronger to explore. So this is the most important lessons we should continue towards our Moon and Mars mission.
Speaking of international collaboration, Andy, you already work in ESA, where there's many countries represented, and considering that the International Space Station is looked at as one of the greatest examples of cooperation in history, and it will be remembered for that, I'm pretty sure. From your perspective, why does it work?
Well, the space station works because we want it to work. I mean, it really is that simple, but I've got to say I fully agree with what Koichi said. You know, the most important lesson is that international collaboration really makes the project robust and resilient. And I think that's the most valuable lesson we'll take with us. But again, it works because we decided it needed to work. And that really should serve as an example to all of us. We humans are remarkable. We can achieve great things when we put our minds to it. When we decide to work together and to pool our resources and collaborate, we can really achieve great things. And I think that's a valuable lesson as well to take with us.
Thank you. the next question, I'd like to have an answer from everybody. I'll start with Alper, but Soyeon, we have to talk about danger after that. Because it's a different perspective depending who you are. We all are different, and it's a good thing that we're not all exactly the same and cloned. So living and working in space is a unique experience. Did it change you or your view of Earth? You can choose what you want to talk about after you returned. Alpa.
I would like to welcome you all again to this panel. Thanks so much for taking your time. Maybe coming from a military background for so long and switching over to the space station mission, it didn't change my personality. This is a question that I get in my country as well, quite a lot. I had the chance to be able to meet with more than 250,000 students so far in my country within the last 18 months, and that's one of the most frequently asked questions. It didn't change because I took it quite in a different manner. Like, I have been raised in the military since I was 14 years old, and all this time we were quite mission-oriented. And I took it in a way in order to keep it simple in the mind and psychologically in the feelings that that's just another mission to be accomplished. When you take it this way, you are getting rid of the mental and psychological stress factors. You find a way to defer that. But on the other hand, you appreciate the things that you have not been exposed so far. For example, how abundant the resources that we have here on Earth that we take as granted are totally not existing up in space. So you get to a conscious level that you appreciate all the resources here, but in terms of personality, we are way above to be bandits in our personality or turning out to be a completely different state of mood or psychology. Thank you.
So, Jan, would you like to?
Yeah, actually, it was a very interesting question I was asked yesterday from another ND, ASC, and he asked me, when was the most kind of unity moment you experienced during your flight? But I cannot think of it because there is a moment I should feel the segregation or excluding or anything like that because we are all in unity during the whole, my 11 days in space station. And the biggest things I learned, and maybe we should learn from space station, is the humanity. Because I'm from South Korea, and my country is not the member of ISS. So many of the Korean people, including me, is a little bit concerned about how she can survive among those environments.
I'm sorry, but you are a member of ISS.
Of course,
yes,
of course.
Sorry.
Yeah, right. But it's a kind of diplomatic document, you know what I mean? Yeah, but I couldn't feel like that. But as we all know, the people who are working in our own agency, they always cares about that. Mm-hmm. How far we can go, what kind of document we should sign, what our astronauts should kind of careful about it. And many of my colleagues, you better be careful this, and don't bother the Russian astronaut, don't kind of earn any hours from astronauts hour because it's really expensive, and then government should pay for that. We all know that, but once we are together in station, we forgot everything. But we are all kind of smart person, so we remember in same time. And we know when we should be the just one Earthling, and we know when we should be our own country's citizen. Nowadays, a lot of people do totally opposite way. When we really needed to the Earthling, they just thinking about some kind of titles and things. But I think biggest lesson we should learn from space station is that kind of thing. And the point of view, I got huge change before flight and after flight. Sometimes I ask myself, maybe that's because I became an astronaut, because somebody want to teach me. I met a lot of incredible people. They don't have to go to space because they already learned a lot about the humanity, unity, collaboration, everything. Then they don't have to learn. But me kind of thing, when I look down to the earth, that's the moment I became a Korean citizen and looked down to the Korean peninsula. And my Russian colleague said, oh, such a little cute country you have. Yeah, it's cute and positive. And I asked myself, why on earth I was born that little small spot besides the big, huge continent right next to me, big, huge countries opposite side of the earth. Of course, we don't know the region, but we did. We were born in the place we were born. And I asked myself, why on earth I was born 1978, not in the 1900, not in the 1800, not in the 1950 in the middle of the Korean War. I feel like, oh my God, such a luckiest person ever in the world. I was born in the right moment under my best parents ever and with my sweet family. What if I were born in different place and different people? I cannot even imagine it. On the way, almost 30 years, I always complain about why my family is not that rich like my friend's family, why my country is not like other countries who has a big, huge space program, why we cannot pay this kind of thing. But that was really stupid question. I should be grateful for everything I already have rather than thinking about something we couldn't have yet. And we wasting a lot of time to something we cannot change, something we should be grateful for. So that was the kind of biggest lesson I learned from my space flight. And that is maybe we should all remember how we can apply that lesson to our life. Only time I can pick, we should keep our own countries and cultures and everything is when we eat. Because I really feel grateful for the Ichi brothers who brought the curry in a GCTC. As an Asian, I cannot survive with only Russian food. But
though it's very good.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's very good.
But I cannot eat 365 days. I miss the spice. Yeah.
We'll get to food in a minute,
Yeah.
Soyeon.
But that time, I remember that we are different, and we bring the diversity. But all other time, we are one earthling, should work together and remember the humanity.
Absolutely. Drew, what did you think of Earth?
I won't be as prolific as Soyeon was. It was interesting listening to both Alper and Soyeon talk and realizing that, astronauts in general, I'm guilty of this a lot, are somewhat pragmatic in our approach to the work that we do, and a lot of times very systematic, right, and very mechanical. And so for some of us, it's a mission, and it was like that for me too, and for some of us, it's kind of like an awakening and an awareness. And so it's important for us to expose more people to observe Earth from space, because they might, we might have more opportunities to explain what that's like and more ways to talk about it. People ask me, what was it like to be in space? And I say, it's hard for me to talk about it and tell you, because as humans, many of us have never seen that with our own eyes. So you don't have anything to base, any real vocabulary to base that on. You're just making it up as you go. And I think the thing that I felt the most when I saw Earth from space for the first time, and the times after, which is not as many as some of the flyers on the stage today and many in the space industry, was vulnerability. Like, I would look down at the planet and think, if only the entire population knew that we were just this like orbiting ball in the sea of complete and utter blackness. Like, there is nothing around us. You can't drive down the street to the grocery store. You're stuck on that planet. And many of us don't, not the people here, because this is a space conference, but many people don't even look past the road signs on the freeway to think about like what's out there and where we are. And from space, when you look at Earth and you can see past it, you see what's out there, and there is nothing out there. So our planet and the need for us to really care for that home and nurture it, like, we do need to explore space. We do need to become an off-planet species, but the reality is we still need to manage the resources we have on this planet and think about each other. You know, we all say there's no borders that you can see on Earth from space. There aren't. And so vulnerability was the thing that I felt the most about the planet, and wishing everybody else could sense what that is and what that means when they think about their day-to-day lives.
Now, I have to say, Drew, that you're too humble when you say that you don't have artistry or poetry and emotions in you, because Drew is a musician and a real citizen of this world. You have more than one nationality, really good one, particular, Canadian. So it is a myth a little bit that people who go to space are just like driven or trained in some certain way, and it'll be demonstrated with some of my other questions. But let's continue with you, Andy. Did it change you or change your view of Earth?
I mean, I was certainly impacted by it, yeah. I wouldn't say I was fundamentally changed, but you know, I had the pleasure of welcoming Alper and the rest of Axiom 3 on the space station. And even though Alper and the rest of the crew were very focused on their mission, you know, I've got to say we also had a terrific time together. It was certainly one of the highlights of my time in space was the time I got to spend with Axiom 3. It was a lot of fun, and I think that's part of the experience as well. You are up there with this small group of people that you form very strong bonds with, and you know, we're a cross-section of humanity up there, working together towards the same goals, and it's just a terrific experience.
And it talks as well to the mix of government government astronaut and commercial professional astronauts, and this works really well, correct?
Certainly. I mean, yeah, we got a tremendous amount of science and technology development done during the mission, and managed at the same time to have a lot of fun together, I think.
That's right, indeed. And I would like to thank him also for his hospitality, him and his crew over there. By chance, in this 25 years long legacy of ISS, the time when we arrived there, it was the combination of most number of nations and most number of different languages on ISS in this 25 years long work period. And another amazing thing about this combination is that, as Drew also said, we are getting the chance to be able to train with our own crew as well as some other crew during the NASA training phase. However, we never got the chance to be able to train with Andy and his team, our Russian friends as well. But even though we had no common training background, we immediately found a perfect harmony of cooperation as soon as we arrived there. I think that's another beauty of being up there in the ISS.
So did you bring any Turkish food?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
of
we'll
course.
get back to that because I still have serious questions. And one of them is for you, my friend. Because of your return to Earth, which was quite rocky and dangerous, what do you think as space opens up to more people, to more diverse type of people? Not everybody will be professional or sign their lives to serve a space agency on a spacecraft. What do you think these dangers will be overcome? What will happen?
Yeah, a lot of people have asked me, do you really want to go back? Because even if you made that huge accident and had a hard time on the way back. But I always said yes without having any hesitation, because I trust all the people who did their best to make our flight as safe as possible. I don't think we can fly because we are really brave or encouraged. We can fly only because we trust the people who devoted whole their lives to make these things happen. I can see their shiny eyes every day when I had a training, and when I had a fit check, when I had a Soyuz check, and then every day. They just always ask us, what do you think, which is the uncomfortable, how we can do better. And still I remember when I became a primary crew, even if I was a backup crew, So I made the Russian people just so busy because in a month they should change the one crew and all the things. And then one of the Roscosmos guy who became a best friend of mine in GCTC, he came to me.
What's his name?
I cannot remember actually. Sorry about that.
Oh,
because
sorry.
hundred of Sergeys. They always ask me, "Kako is Sergey?"
Which
Kako
one?
Yuri,
Which one?
Yeah, which one? So he told me like, you know what, Soyeon, even if I should work all over the night, sometimes whole night, I'm so happy to walk because you will fly. Yeah. So that's the energy we can have to fly. And being dangerous on the way back, of course, I'm lucky enough. We beat the several second and we didn't be killed. But in the same time, if they cannot make it safe enough, not because they didn't want to do it, but because that is their best. And I trust. And in the same time, no matter how dangerous things happen, as you can see, I'm healthy enough. And I survive. It means that system is reliable. That system is, no matter what things, unexpected things happen, they made it happen.
So we will be able to send general public
Of course,
eventually.
Of course. So sometimes I feel so sorry for you guys because you are all qualified, I believe, right? Yeah. Once you have a more than year training, of course, learning Russian is a little bit harder. But learning English also hard as a Korean. But we can, and then people like Koichi and Drew is making that kind of way with the VAS and Axiom, and then we all cross finger to make the price more affordable. Then I will buy the ticket with my husband. I've never been in Hawaii. Whenever I told, I've never been in Hawaii, let's go Hawaii. And then he always told me, I've never been in space, let's go space. Yeah, so I trust them. They will make it happen. Yeah.
But let me swing the question to Drew, because we lost 2 out of 5 space shuttle, and we lived through the second mishap on Columbia on the 1st of February, 2003. What do you think?
What do I think about
the dangers of
safety and the
spaceflight?
danger and the risk? Spaceflight is not without risk. There's no doubt what we do. We've lost, several crews over the years, not just us, but the Russians have lost crews. And that will likely happen again. Like space is a dangerous place for us. We were born on Earth, and this is our home, and traveling out to space has its challenges. But 25 years since the first human launch with Yuri Gagarin, right? We've learned on every flight how to make the systems better, how to make them safer. We know what works in space now. The key is for us to be diligent and always have safety on our minds and not allow those standards to slip. And I know that Axiom and the others and ourselves as well, we start with safety and we start with reliability because, the first and foremost is protecting the lives of the crew. Secondly, if we're not successful and the missions aren't safe, there's no point in us even trying to promote this business because we'll never go to space. We have to be safe to be successful. That's the only way that it works, to provide opportunities for humans to go to space. But there will always be some risk.
Gravity is relentless and unforgiving, and it will always be here. So we are just getting better and more stringent and more good at what we do, and that will improve so that it can be open to more people.
Yeah, when Julie talked about that thing, that reminds me of the time I took the Uber here. Because whenever I hop on the Uber drivers tell me, seatbelt. I do. But we all know that 10 years ago, seatbelt was not in a car. And then many of the people was killed. And then we learned from that. And then we made a seatbelt, and we saved a lot of people. So that's the kind of sequence. So as far as we learn from their sacrifice and make it safer, I don't think their death is meaningless. It is very, very meaningless to make us fly more. So we cannot take a time machine to go back to save everybody. It's just already happened. But how we can make their sacrifice meaningful is our homework, I think. So make rocket more safer. And Russian peoples learned from my ballistic reentry. They did the spacewalk not to make same accident to the next Soyuz 12. So that's how we can make it better, I think.
All right.
I think I can talk about.
Yes, please go ahead.
As far as the safety, I think I all agree with what everybody was saying. But 25 years of human presence on board the space station gave us a lot of insight and knowledge about safety. Of course, safety is number one in human space flight, but also it's the most expensive part of human space flight to guarantee safety. But thanks to the great experience of the past space programs on both the United States and Russia, former Soviet Union, and also especially on the ISS, we learned how to make space flight safe and then how to do it more efficiently. And with the commercial companies like VAST and Axiom and other SpaceX, and those companies are, I think, leveraging the experience that we have gained through the ISS program, how to operate the system safe. And that's a great lesson that we learned. But when you look at the Earth from space, I see it's like a spaceship Earth. Whenever we have a toilet broken, we have to fix it quickly because it's very critical. If we do not have an oxygen generator, if we don't have a CO2 removal system failure, we have to fix it right away. Spaceship is very critical for those systems to save us. But when you look at the Earth, we have a beautiful CO2 removal system and auto generator called the forests. And then you can see this kind of devastation of this nation. So if you see that problem on the station of the environmental control and life support system, I see similar issues happening on this home planet. And you can not see the urgency by just looking at the beautiful home planet, but it's a very small planet. We go around the Earth 16 times a day, and if you stay there for 6 months, we go around the Earth 3,000 of times. So I'm from a small country, Japan, but this planet is very small. As Drew said, I totally agree. This is so fragile to me. We have to protect this environment, our home planet, but you can really feel it if you live on board the station and you fix all the toilets all the time, how important this thing is, life support system is. So we learned a lot from safety perspective of how to fly humans safely to space, but at the same time, I think for the safety of the Earth, we are learning a lot by sending humans to space.
Andy.
Well, I was just going to say,
Absolutely
if my colleagues up here are calling Korea and Japan small countries, then I don't know what to call my home country, Denmark.
I have often when people talk about Earth and what it looks like, to me, one of the best part of the experience on spaceflight is looking down at our planet. It is absolutely magnificent, and there is no small country because you don't see the borders. So it's all the continents together, the oceans, the blues, the white. I call Earth like a blue marble on the backdrop of darkness, like you said, Drew. But inside the spacecraft, though, we are so focused on keeping that spacecraft in good order because it's the only thing that makes us alive in space compared to the vacuum of this harsh environment. And one of the things is that there's air circulation because that's how we can breathe new oxygen and move up the carbon dioxide that we expel. And that circulation is done by cabin fans, and they make quite a lot of noise, kind of a humming in the back. And if for some reason you lose something, because there's such important air circulation, like if I have a pen and I didn't put it on a Velcro properly and I've lost it, then I have to go to the cabin fan filter to find it. That's where the lost and found is. And I won't tell you what we find in there. However, the one thing we are absolutely terrified about is not to hear that humming sound. Because if we lose the air, if there's a fire or if there's toxic emanation, we will have to evacuate the station, most probably, or certainly have to do very quick emergency procedure because that air is all we have to keep alive. And that is exactly what you said, Koichi. Thank you, about our planet. It might be big, and there's 8 billion of us, but that air is our most precious commodity, with water. Okay, I have another question. Maybe someone will volunteer for this one. Of course, ISS is a scientific laboratory, and you've all seen the picture. It's got a lot of things in there. Cables and cameras and scientific equipment and operational equipment and robotics workstation and spacesuit and so on. But it's also a home, and we have long-duration crew member and people who have been recently on space station. What does it take to make that place feel like home when you're there for a long time?
I mean, first of all, I think your crewmates, right? It's about creating almost a family, right? You travel up together, you spend 6 months together, and really your crewmates can make or break a mission. The closer you are, the better you work together, and the more you enjoy each other's company, the better time you'll have. We had a absolutely terrific crew on Expedition 70, and it just made every day so much fun, really. I mean, we had humor, and we got along together, and then when Axiom 3 came up, you know, they fitted straight into the mission, and it was just a pleasure every single day. And that, I think, is key. If you have a good group of people that you enjoy spending time with, then you can make anything almost feel like home.
I agree. Drew, do you?
Koichi's probably got something better to say, but I think it's personalization. You know, for me, it was about putting photos of my family in my crew sleeping quarters, and so that sort of gave me that familiarity of the connection. So my theory is that when astronauts are in space, they want to be home on Earth, and when they're on Earth, they want to be up in space. So to me, it was about like making the connection back to Earth. And there is a bit of a dissonance from when you're in space and you think about there's 7 billion people on Earth and you are one of 6 or 10 or 12 of humans that are orbiting the planet at the time. And it does disconnect you from the planet. You feel like you're up here and everybody's down there. Do they even know? Most people don't even know that humans are, I mean, many people don't know that humans are even living in space. And if you start to let that get to you, it can really be isolating. And especially, you know, on some missions, the Earth can start telling stories about the humans in space through news articles and things like that. And that actually, it makes the crew stronger, but it creates a greater disconnection with like the entire planet that you're looking at and trying to represent in space. So there's a lot of challenges. The crew is really important, but the connection, and that's why email and video conferences and all those things that we didn't used to have and we have now are really critical, so you can keep talking.
It just reminds me, we mentioned caves a little bit earlier, and Drew and I were on caves together. And of course, one of the important things on a mission like that is that you learn from more experienced crew members. And actually, I remember one thing that Drew told me was that, you know, in space, do the same things that you do on Earth in order to have that same daily routine and make it a home. You know, so you said if you shave every single day on Earth, shave every single day in space, because then you start, you know, you get that same structure to your routine, and then you make space more like home.
And perhaps that is one of the most important and yet ordinary legacy of the ISS, is to teach us how to deal with this so that when we go further and on really long duration mission like Mars one day, then we will literally gain from that experience to do it properly. Alper, what did you miss from the ground? Any everyday thing that you missed while you were up there for 21 days?
I didn't go there to miss something. The
We
ISS,
like being in space.
the ISS has such a great potential to feel like home, to feel like work. You know, it's the most extraordinary place that you can ever be. And even if not, just try to keep the things simple in life. Do not try to compare every new things with the things that you are used to in life. When you go this way, you are always looking for the luxury that you have back home. But if you just take it as it is, it's such a place that you wake up and you reach your work in 1 minute. Like workplace and home in the same platform, plus it's giving you the best view of the world. It's such a flying, amazing office that you can't stop yourself living. So when you try to focus on the new positive things and this new experience, you don't need to strive for, and you don't need to put extra effort to get used to or to make it feel like home. So by the nature, it's a great place.
It is. Which
Okay, what makes us feel at home is, I think, food.
Yes.
I all agree with everybody said crewmate is the most important part, and the communication with our ground controllers, family, and friends, connection is very good, important. I think it's going to be tough when we go to Mars because communication takes maybe up to 20 minutes, so maybe we cannot communicate the conversation. You have to make a video recording or texting. But the food is very important because that separates us from AI and robotics. Probably a lot of things that we do in space can be better done by robotics or automation, but we can do a lot of things that's only human can do. And in order for us to function at the maximum capacity, I think to enjoy the food. And I really felt at home when I had white rice with miso soup in space. And I flew about several months after Soyeon flew. And somehow, I don't know, intentionally or unintentionally, she left a very tasty Korean ramen on board the space station. I had a chance to eat it. And whenever you feel and eat something that you really love, really, makes me boosted. And then I try to do all my best with this energy that I just acquired from this food. So food is great. And then if you have many countries participants, that means we have great food from the United States, Russia, Korea, Denmark, Turkey, and so the more the merrier the food variety is. And I think that is a great time to spend time together to even solidify the camaraderie among the crew members. So food is very important, and that separates us from robotics.
So now you guys can think about your best food story, but before I have to say that when we arrived in space on STS-127, Koichi had been there for several months already. He was coming back with us on the shuttle. So I was very much looking forward to taste some Japanese space food. But what happens in space is that the best space food somehow is consumed early. Everybody wants a piece of it. So by the time we arrived on 27, you didn't have any more Japanese space food. Oh, well, I'll taste it on Earth.
The ramen, give the credit to the Garrett. Because whenever I try to open the ramen, Garrett stopped me. And then, Soyeon, you will go down in several days. I should be stuck here several more months. So leave the ramen for me. Maybe he saved for the later and later and then left over for you, I think. And I totally agree with Andy because ritual is really important. That's because I brought my journal. Because I wrote a journal every night before go to bed to reflect my day and plan for the tomorrow. Even here, I brought my journal. And wherever I go, I bring my journal and then write something. That's my ritual. And also food to make home, because whenever you feel tired or stressful, you always have your own specific food to crave, right? Yeah. My case is whenever I feel tired and then a little bit depressed, I always craving some hot and spicy soup, like a ramen. Yeah.
All right.
Add more pepper. Yeah.
Which is liquid, by the way, because if you can't sprinkle pepper on anything,
no,
it all will go flying in the cabin. If you take a deep breath, you will inhale it.
Yeah, right. And then several days ago, when I watched the space station video, I saw that Johnny Kim make the rice and put something on top and then make the sushi. That's how Koreans eat in space, because we cannot live without rice. Yeah, so having rice there is to make that place home.
That's right.
Andy?
Well, I was just going to say, it's funny how things like food can very quickly lead to conflict among crews as well. And exactly this question about eating the good food first, it's so important to agree with your crewmates? Do you eat the good food first, or do you save the good food for last? Because if you have different strategies, right, the people who save the good food for last won't have any of the good food.
Albert, did you have a problem with Turkish food or any food while you were up there? He's a Brazilian
Not really.
guy.
I mean, the food laboratories are already giving us the chance to be able to choose what we would prefer to consume over there. So it was already a prepared package, and they provide us quite a big variety of different foods. And plus, more than the foods that you eat, it's important to eat it with good friends over there. So the environment is also putting extra pleasure, extra taste in it. So I don't really have a big problem with that.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Drew, any...
Go,
Andy.
Sorry, I got to share one story
Yes.
from our mission. So we had one crew member who almost survived on peanut butter. Peanut butter was like the
Now
staple.
we know name. We want names.
And the day that Alper and the rest of the Axiom 3 crew were leaving, Mike LA, they had a 48-hour return, right? It's the longest return to Earth ever. 48 hours they had to sit in Dragon before landing. And so Mike LA, the commander of Axiom 3, comes to our crew and says, "Can I have some of your peanut butter to bring on this 48-hour trip?" And of course, we said yes, but I could tell from some of the other crew members that we were not happy about giving up peanut butter. But then he forgot it on the space station. So after they had undocked, he calls back and he says, "Yeah, I think you'll find some peanut butter in the airlock." And he'd forgotten it. And Mission Control picked up on it, and there's like, and the story was, Mike LA and the Axiom 3 crew were so generous, they brought up and left peanut butter for the expedition crew.
All right. Unless you want to say something else, Drew, we have questions from the audience, and because we have 10 minutes left, I thought I would pick and choose some of those questions. Let's see. Very interesting question. What is the most important thing to accomplish with the time left with ISS? And I have a corollary. Anybody would like to take that one?
Well, I would say, we've worked incredibly hard to build ISS to its current size and capabilities, and the ISS really is humming now. We've also learned a lot about how to make the operations more effective and efficient, and I really hope we take these last remaining 5 or so years to get the maximum utilization out of ISS. I mean, we really owe it to the investment and the 25 years that we've put into it to really ramp up the utilization and wring out every last bit of science and technology development that we can do. Also, because we want to set up the commercial companies like VAST and Axiom up for success on their future space stations. So we need to keep in my opinion, the science community working at high pace so that they can quickly transition to the coming commercial space stations.
I totally agree. There are so many precious experiments on board the space station, and they're beautiful assets. We have not used it 100%, so it's only 4 or 5 years left. And this transition phase from the ISS to the commercial station is very critical. We should utilize everything that we have on board the space station 100%, as Andy said, to utilize.
Which the corollary is a question I got from a friend of mine. If we had a magic wand and we could take away all the technical issues that come with doing what I'm going to say, what should we do with ISS? Should we really decommission it and deorbit it and it's lost forever? Or should we boost it further away so that it becomes a space museum or something?
My personal opinion is I really want it be there. If there's some problem, we can fix it. If we need more room to add up. So the reason why is when I went to the GCTC, I realized that some part of the locker room, they still have a Yuri Gagarin's locker over there. And I put something name on it. And some of the customers are bragging me like his locker is right next to the Yuri Gagarin's. Even if it's not functionally really good, or it's worth it to over there or occupy over there, but that wake all the cosmonauts up every single moment when they see that locker. And then they remember their initial thought, and they remember about all the safety and missions and science and everything, because what the legacy we have kind of thing. So if I have a magic wand and then just leave ISS over there, and then we just add up more, remodel more, and then keep remember what we did, keep remember what we missed, and keep remember what really, really want to do with that, and that would be the really amazing.
All right, another question from the audience. They're really all good, so maybe we have 3 more hours, right? There are a lot of challenges to get humans to Mars. If you had to pick one, the most complicated challenge, say other than the communication delay, which one would it be?
Personally, I think it's, technically speaking, it's a life support system. I mentioned this environmental control and life support system. We have limited resources of gas and water. And when you send the humans to Mars, it's not only humans, but you have to send the resources that includes food and water. And unless you have 100%, close to 100% the recycle of those gaseous or liquid, resources that we have, it's going to be very difficult. And the system, as we have this beautiful home planet, we need to have this very reliable life support system. So this is something that we have to have. 100% reliable system, and that's what we are testing on board the space station every day. That's why, in order for us to continue to explore the universe to beyond low Earth orbit, the low Earth orbit space station is very critical, no matter what we do in the future. And
Drew probably solve also our problem with landing anything on that planet?
Yeah, well, there's a few challenges, but the first thing that comes to my mind for a trip to Mars is speed. Like, we have to solve the speed problem, the ability to get there much quicker than we can right now with chemical rockets. So we will need to see, I think, a paradigm shift to nuclear electric type of rockets where we can accelerate halfway there and decelerate the other half of the way so we get there much faster. It reduces our reliability and need for some of the ECLS systems, but also radiation exposure is a big deal, we know, and so anything we can do to get there quicker, and ultimately we'll need that because the refueling problem with chemical rockets, it's just not going to be the solution for the long term to go anywhere really farther than the moon. We can probably do the Mars mission, but it's going to be challenging.
Thank you. This is a popular question, so I'll ask it. If you could change one thing about the station to make life easier, what would it be? It's kind of a hard question, isn't it? Not much.
More windows.
Yes.
More windows.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I didn't have a cupola during my flight. Yeah.
All right. So looking back down at the Earth, which was going to be a problem and a challenge going to Mars because there's not going to be much of a view. It's like diving in a submarine somehow. Now, all of you, think about it. You're being sent on a really long voyage in space with little view, and you are allowed one personal thing. What do you bring?
Something with a lot of music on it.
Yes, an iPod. You guys remember what an iPod is? No, okay.
I don't think it's so much, or at least for me, it's not so much what you bring, but it's a question of keeping busy, right? I spent on my last mission almost 200 days in space, and that sounds like a long time, but time went so quickly. And the reason it felt like time went quickly is because we're so busy every single day. We get up in the morning, and Mission Control has prepared a schedule for the entire day, usually from 7:30 in the morning to 7:30 in the evening, and you're just working constantly. And so Friday nights, we would have dinner together, and we'd look at each other, and we'd ask, what happened to this week? It feels like we just got up Monday morning and now the week's already gone. So I think if you can keep busy, either we get a new type of propulsion system that shortens the journey, or if we use chemical rockets and it's a 6 or 8 month journey, we have to find a way to keep the astronauts busy every single day, because otherwise it's going to be a long trip.
Right. Koichi?
If I may.
Food?
Oh, no, I don't know if it's allowed or not, but the internet, because we cannot. So everything that we do onboard the space station is per instruction, and you can have all kinds of knowledge through internet, and then procedures, even how to cook. So I think it's very, for me, if there's a luxury to bring something, that is the internet. I hope it's going to be allowed.
So, yeah.
I assume I will fly with the Drew, so I already have a music, and I already have internet. Then maybe I would
And
bring
a deck of cards.
Oh yeah, and then I would love to bring the hot sauce because I still remember when we had a commander transition from the Peggy Wilson to the Sergei Volkov, and Peggy bring the bouquet of the hot sauce and then make the ribbon, and then give it to the Sergei. This is my precious hot sauce for you to survive next 6 months in space station. So those hot and spicy kind of spice might make me less boring and then feel like home.
Absolutely. Alpa?
More recording capability with new state-of-art gadgets, because that's one of the problems that we cannot really record and transfer it as much as we want. So I wish there could be a better and faster way to be able to do that.
I think this is a question that I would like to even hear from you guys. If you have a chance to input to IAF and IAC, let us know what you would bring if you could only bring one personal item to a long duration mission. Of course, it's not going to be the case, hopefully, but it is an interesting question for us all. Time is running out for this panel. And there was one last question which I'd like to read, but I'm not sure we can have time to discuss, but this says, does seeing Earth without borders change your perspective on world events? If you allow me, I'd like to just say that it didn't change perspective on world events, but it did light opinion on the importance of trying to find common grounds, common goal, get along, sometimes give in, sometimes try, again and again, the importance, absolute importance of respect, integrity, diplomacy, the importance also of saying, hey, I'm not always right, and it's not, and that, by the way, Koichi, we are so similar astronauts at times that you took my saying of, if we choose to go alone, we might go fast, but if we go together, we go further. So personally, I would say it is events like IAC, it's the 25 years of human presence on board the ISS that show us that international collaboration works. It brings benefit, tangible benefit. It has exceptional advantages and added value, and we should convince ourselves that it's the case, continue to strive to work together, and not let world events change our goal to go at it. We are one species, and as it is as one species that we will walk on Mars one day. Ad Astra. Thank you so much.